Good afternoon, everyone. I'll call to order the November Water, Sewer, and Engineering Committee meeting. I'll take attendance of Superintendent of Water and Sewer Maggetto, Town Supervisor Aaron Cassidy-Dorian, Town Accountant McFinnan, Assistant Comptroller Janet Nguyen, and several members of the community here. We'll start by, I'll take a motion to approve the October meeting minutes. Motion. Is there a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And those minutes are approved. And we'll begin with a brief public comment period. As I said before, we ask that you follow the same policy that we have for our town board meetings. And also, unfortunately, we do have to keep it sort of short. We have our public hearing for the budget at 5:30. So we'll give maybe 15 minutes for a public comment before we start.
Ours would probably be pretty quick, if I may.
Sure.
Just, we were here last week, last month, we had some encouraging news about the culvert and not landing, the alterations to the berm. Any updates? Because we didn't see any work done.
I don't have any updates on the alterations of it. They're working on a plan and
Okay.
they get back to me, we'll work with them and review it.
Okay,
And I know that the highway department has committed to doing maintenance on that. They are, unfortunately, right now, this is leaf season for them.
mhm,
So that's typically a winter project when things are cold and frozen. It's
Okay.
easier to do that work.
so you expect that to be more in the winter? Do you think?
I would assume, yeah, during snow events, in lulls, it's
So maybe
cold and
December.
I'm not gonna speak, I can't speak for Ray Smith, but, the possibility.
Okay.
Uh,
That's it?
Okay, so real quick, can we get an update on the gas leak?
I was at the sewer, plant today, and we modified the gas scrubber to improve efficiency on that. We're adjusting the pH in the system. And, it seems to be leveling out. And once that, stays at, good, pH levels in the scrubber, then I'll have the contractor come back in and make those spot repairs. I don't want to do repairs on the pipe until we have the scrubber tuned the way we want it so that we don't cause further issues.
So it's getting cold now, and
Yeah,
when you get that online,
that's why I've been down there at the plant on the last 2 days, bringing that system closer to being online. So I would say, if you're here next month, I may be able to report to you that we'll have that up online.
Everybody else like to speak?
Yeah, okay, Joe Yankel, 914 Broman. I guess just a few things if we could touch on, please. We had the recent public statement by Assemblyman Steck's office with Aaron about an infusion of $500,000. And also some other options that are available, like the additional water meter. So if you might be able to touch on that, I know you probably can't give specific ideas of or specific actions that 500,000 is going to be used for, but if you could give us some idea of how that's going to be employed and if that's going to adjust the revenue requirement and the water and sewer billing. So that's one thing. The second thing is I wanted to ask Aaron if it's possible, maybe for a minute or two during this meeting, if you can talk about anything that's notable in water and sewer that may be an adjustment to the budget that we're going to be talking about later on. And then two other things, Matt, we had talked a little bit already about the lost water issue, and we talked about the amount of gallons that's involved there. And if you could recap just a little bit about there. As you know, the numbers from the last couple of years are enormous, like in the 200 to 300 million gallon range, and using the costs based on what we're paying the city. I estimated that it was about $350,000 in 2023 and over $400,000 in 2022. For the expense of this lost water at costs to Niskayuna, the town, not to the ratepayer, because we're paying significantly more than what you're paying, per 1,000 gallons to the city. So if you could touch on that just a little bit to explain the lost water, maybe things that the town is doing to address that issue, because this is a really significant number. And then the last thing that I wanted to ask you about, again, we also touched on this, but I don't recall what you gave me for the answer. But the water quality reports have been indicating for a number of years that there are a lot of unmetered connections with the city of Schenectady. There's like 357, and they've always been listed since like 2001, as far as I can go back in the quality reports, as being unmetered. So we're estimating those costs, and I'm wondering if you can just briefly talk about that, and how come those meters are, those connections are unmetered, and how do we know that we're getting the right amount of revenue from them based on the estimation?
Okay, so, I guess I'll start with the last thing. The unmetered counts, that's part of our contract with the city of Schenectady. They are not Tom and Niskuna properties. They're properties in the city of Schenectady. City of Schenectady does not meter the water into the homes. So as part of our contract with the city, those properties were identified, and there was an estimate provided, back when, I don't have the figure memorized, but it's so many gallons per property, and it's in our contract.
Okay.
And when we do our annual payment to the city, that's where they're shown, that's where the city pays us back or takes that off of our bill.
A bulk account where we're supplying them water, and then they're
Yes, so the city, we have the joint pump station on Balltown Road, which pressurizes the water that we draw from the city of Schenectady. It's a portion of the city that when that pump station was installed, it was in the 1980s, that would benefit from increased pressure. So as part of that joint project between the town and the city, we backfeed water into the city for those homes and some other portions of the city. And that's the way that we account for that water.
Okay.
It comes off of the amount of water that we buy from the city. They get a credit back.
I gotcha.
Let's see what else was there. The lost water. Lost water is shown in our annual water quality report. It's required by the state. It's part of the standard report. That accounts for water used for firefighting activities, for fire hydrant flushing, water that's lost due to water breaks, and other municipal operations, which we don't meter. And that does go up and down throughout if you look back in 15 years ago, I believe there were some periods when it was at close to 30% loss. We've been able to, over time, depending on how many water breaks we have, how large the water breaks are, we can reduce that figure. I think we got it down as, in some years, as low as 7%. And then based on what's going on within our system, there are some years where we need more water for flushing. And I spoke to Mr. Yeakel at the meeting we had recently. When we have water quality issues, sometimes on dead ends, we flush more. And we did have over the last 2 years, we did have there were 10 dead ends within our system where we were experiencing dirty water complaints. So it required us to do additional flushing, which uses water that's unmetered, and it shows up as unaccounted for water. And to go forward with that, to try to identify those areas and to alleviate that in the future and save on our time from going and doing flushing, and not just blindly flushing, we installed 10 automatic flushing hydrants on these dead ends. They have an electronic timer on them, and they run so many minutes a day. And we initially ran them pretty aggressively to get fresh water in, to help with to rebuild a lining on the inside of the pipe. We had polyalkyl phosphate to our water, to protect the iron pipe from the water, or the water from the iron pipe, so you don't end up getting iron or discolored or flavored water from the contact with the iron. And we reduced that once, and then now we are sampling monthly on those hydrants, and we're reducing the amount of time that those hydrants run daily. Till we get to a point where we're happy with the water, and we're also not wasting additional water that we don't have to. So that's our goal, and that water quality report also has a 6-month lag to it because of the way that we register the water. So some of our reductions that we've made already aren't reflected in the current report.
And yeah, and again, my reason for bringing this one up is because the numbers are really, really large, and at the end of the day, somebody's gonna pay for it. So, you know, it's a matter of being mindful with the usage or with the excesses, because ultimately that's playing out in the rates that we're all paying. Whether it's all city of Schenectady water or stuff that we're producing, but the last couple of years were really, really high.
That would be reflecting that issue, the water quality issue.
I just want to make mention, since we're talking about water loss, there's a water line that runs behind Alaska. And it goes into the school a little bit, and Carl's property has a pond over it, and you said that pipe was corroded. And that was not this summer, it was the previous summer when we were, scoping out the areas, and I think we had a site visit. And you had mentioned that that pipe was corroded. So I was just wondering if that could be a potential loss of water there, and when is that going to be corrected? And I think we discussed whether Carl's Pond is on top of the water line, so that was sort of making it a little
Yes.
difficult.
It's been repaired, multiple times. When it does break, we do know, because it, unfortunately, you can see it in the pond. And we had a couple of repairs, on the school access road coming in there. My long-term plan is to replace that line, but we do monitor, and, Carl's actually very, vigilant as far as if we have an issue on that line, he will call us.
And I always wondered whether his pond whether that was a wise thing to have so close to the water lines, because it's above it.
It's very close to it, yes.
So he's the mayor of our community stuff. I wonder if he gets to do whatever he wants to do. I don't know whether we're gonna monitor him.
We have an easement there, and, I believe that pond is just on the edge of our easement. We've spoken about that once before. It was a while ago, when the school did their project. But, we keep an eye on it, and long-term, when the school did make some changes to that water line, we made them, extend their new line so that we can extend from where they left off and replace with new main without having to do additional work out towards Rosendale Road.
Yeah, I just think that, it should just be monitored, because sometimes when he drains his pond, that's additional water that comes onto the culvert in our property and adds to the amount of water. And he just does it, whenever whenever the levels get a little uncomfortable for him. So I'm just wondering if there's any code issues with that, or.
The planning department on that.
I can hit the other two items that you asked about. The additional meters, and we talked a little bit about this. The addition of 2 meters on one account, just a few things. It's really only going to be valuable for folks that use a lot of outside water to try to remove as much of that sewer component as possible, because we know that water's not going into the sewer. The reason why I say that is because the cost of the meter itself, the homeowner would pay for it initially. It would be a one-time fee, and then it would become part of the replacement process for the town. But it would come at a cost of like $400 or something like that for the meter. And then the town doesn't actually install it. You would have to get a plumber to come in and take a look at your setup and see the best place for it. So that could cost, very little. If you've got something simple, or something complicated is going to cost a little bit more. So you want to make sure that you're, investing in something that's going to be worthwhile. So that's one component of it.
Supplies,
We
homeowner pays for it, but we supply it.
Correct. Yeah. Well, just because we're going to be pulling the information about it too. So it's an option that's out there, but like I said, you would probably have to really take a look and do a cost benefit analysis, and we're happy to help you with that. But it's an option to try to make things a little bit more accurate. The other piece of things, and I think we talked about putting it on the website so we can have a little bit more information. Yeah. And since you're already paying that minimum amount for sewer on your initial bill, you wouldn't pay it for the second one. It would just be a cost per gallon for the outside water. because it would be like the same account, but two different meters
For the water.
for the water. Oh yeah, did I say sewer?
Yeah.
Okay, I meant water. Okay, stack conversation. So to answer your question, I can be really specific about that money because the money itself, those grants, those SAM grants can only be used for infrastructure. Luckily, we have a lot of infrastructure problems. So it will probably more than likely either replace or be added to the reserves that we're building for the water tower repair. Some of the money we're hoping to be able to use for an upgrade of the software that we use for billing. The problem there, and we just still have to, his office is helping us because it's infrastructure. There's a very, you have like if it's server based, that's infrastructure. So you could use the money, but software that's on the cloud is sort of a gray area. So they're looking into that. We are in contact with two different companies to come in to evaluate the rates. And what I had suggested was that we give them both options in the budget, right? Do we want to replace the 400,000 that we are already going to set aside with Stack's 500,000, and that would, obviously reduce the revenue requirement, or we'll say, we were talking somewhere in the $5 or $6 million range for the water tower repair. So the other option is to kind of keep building the reserve toward that. So we're going to look at it both ways. Like I said, either way, we have to hit the number that the budget is requiring us to hit. We're tracking pretty well toward that right now. I think the question with the rates is, are we distributing the rates correctly for how we feel about our community and how we want to pay for things? So there's going to be a lot of different options. Like I said in previous conversations, municipalities all do this a little bit differently. So I'm hoping that we'll have a full set of sort of options. And then if it makes sense to have a community discussion about it, we can do that. Or we can talk a little bit internally about what options make the most sense and put, a limited number of options out there, or just select one that makes the most sense because it's obvious. So more to come on that, but we did find out, this is interesting. The company that we ended up calling that I'm hoping that they'll be the ones that we use. It turns out that the guy who called me back lives in Niskuna, even though it's a national company. It's very bizarre. And I was like, why didn't you call me earlier? But so I was able to connect with both of those companies. We're trying to figure out how much it's going to cost. It's sort of a weird project for the one company. It's run of the mill for the utility rate guy. So we'll figure out what that looks like. If we can't use Stack's money to pay for that, but I don't think it's going to be near as expensive as we originally thought it was going to, because it's not an audit really. It's really just more looking at the revenue requirement and seeing how the rates were constructed and what options are available to switch things out to. So that's kind of where we are. I'll keep you guys posted as we move along, but
Thank you.
yeah.
Okay. Yep. Anybody else? Okay, Kevin Walsh, 2843 Whitmire Drive. And again, thanks for having me, allowing me to speak here today. Last month I talked about the organics concern with the tractor trailer traffic, which is new. The truck traffic is nothing new. We've had that concern since it started, but tractor trailers has stepped right up a bit. I provided a list of mitigation and items for your consideration at the last meeting, and I asked that they be included into the minutes instead of reading them and taking up other time on a 2-page document. So hopefully those will be attached to the minutes. At that meeting also, there's a gentleman, Joseph, I think it's here, maybe that's his name.
Yeah.
I just met him that day, actually a month ago. He provided information about turning radiuses with tractor trailers, showing that the road and the entrance, egress and exit to River Road is inadequate for tractor trailers, independent of himself. And then also in the 2025 proposed budget, we're looking at doubling the amount of income, which is directly proportional to obviously the amount of haulers that come onto the road. And hopefully there's been some consideration when we put numbers into the budget about the impact of what that's going to be. So bottom line is it's still an open item. It's been open for years, but I have some concerns and I've reached out. I'd like to, have some kind of closure, some kind of feedback or meeting or whatever it takes. I'll be very flexible for that. So I'm here to do that, but we need to do something about it, not
Yeah.
just come every month. I don't want to come, you know, you guys don't want to.
You don't like, you know.
I love seeing you all, but you know, we do want to see you every month. We got things to do also, all right? But, and also, you know, along those lines, so if I look at the minutes online, you know, I know that the draft minutes do not require to be posted per your policy that you approved earlier this year. But the minutes of the meetings are supposed to be posted in your policy and procedures. And I don't see any minutes for this committee at all posted. You
I think
take,
Kathy posted them.
We were told not to because they're draft.
no,
That's
that's the
yeah.
procedure. And the procedure is if you draft, you have the option
Right.
to post the draft, but once you're approved by your procedure.
Fancy.
Yeah, they need to be posted. That way you can validate, you know, like whatever we talk about is still there and my attachment that I posted instead of taking up your time is still there. So I just like somebody to get back to me or if you.
Yes, and forgive me, I have like this whole separate to-do list, but so I'm like, I'm mentally just needing to get past budget and then I'll feel like I have some kind of capacity, but I didn't forget about you.
Yeah,
You're
and you don't need to start with you. Please, if you want to take the list out, I'll tell you what I'm talking about, but.
I actually did do a bit of a drive-by today, looking at a lot of things with our highway superintendent. So we didn't go all the way down Whitmire, so I'd like to take a look at it too.
Thanks for your consideration.
Can I make one more observation? Yes, real quick. So right now, 2024, the water department, just the water, should post a real revenue of 5,152,000 approximately. And you're on track to spend, based on where we are, we've got an expense report as of September. So I basically added 3 more months to that, assuming the same spend rate. You're on track to spend about 4,446,000, so it's under. To make the 2024 budget whole, you were scheduled to take $614,000 out of the reserve fund. It seems to me we can not do that because looks like if you do hit that $4.4 million mark on that you're on track to spend in the $5.1 million that of real revenue plus the 614 that you're or minus the 614 that you took out of that you were supposed to take out of the fund, it looks like those two numbers will converge.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This has been a long day and the numbers I'm sure make a lot of sense, but I would have to sit down.
I can sit down. I can sit down and show you
Yeah,
if that makes sense because we were supposed to have a meeting.
Yeah.
Haven't had that.
yes, yeah.
And I understand you're busy, so I didn't want to push that at you.
Absolutely. We can sit down and look at those things. I think one of the things about fund balance that isn't necessarily obvious is that the money that we don't use in our line items all get put back into fund.
And that's what I was.
So it's not always like we put it in the budget so that we don't get stuck.
I understand.
So I know it's usually looking a lot more scary. I think what was Frank saying? We ended up putting like 1.7 million of the 2 million back in, and yeah. So it's more of like making sure that we have the safety net for the safety net kind of a thing. But yes, let's go over the numbers so that I am understanding completely.
And just so you guys understand, so that closing where money rolls back into the fund balance usually doesn't even occur until March or April, because I have to close all the books. But we've been pretty healthy, I feel like. Right? I mean, we don't budget for, I know, like 8 weeks.
I've been just killing it with the 2025 stuff, that 2024, I don't even know if I want to look at it, but I will. I will, if we probably won't have time to do it today. If you want to stop in, what is next week is agenda meeting Tuesday. So I feel like later in the week, we could probably do something and there would be some.
Yeah, I've got a lot of free time.
Okay.
I should say free time. I've got a lot of open time. I can move things around.
Absolutely. Feel free to, if you want to email it to me too, so the numbers are right there.
I just can't figure out what's your individual email.
So this is so easy. I had an alias created because I have a really annoying last name. It's ECD@niskuna.org.
Generally, it's our first initial and last name,
But that's really annoying.
but hers is.
Should be supervisor at Niskuna.
That one comes to me as well.
Oh, it does?
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
okay. Well, there we go. That's good.
Got a bunch of little aliases, so.
It's easier to spell.
Yeah.
We do have to move on, but I don't want to skip over anybody. Natalie or Nord, you're all set? All right,
Thank you.
all right, let's move into attorney's items then. Leah, easement agreements.
We have 4 easement agreements. 1905 Union Street's been on for a long time. I told Matt to just take it off. We're just waiting on the property owner on that one at this point. It's been drafted and sent to them. They haven't returned it. Once they do, we'll put that on for resolution. 248 Mohawk Trail will be on for this month. It's been drafted already. And then the 2 newer ones are 850 Huntington Drive and 948 Avon Crest Boulevard.
948 Avon Crest.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm
That's-
reading that. That's from my own notes.
Yeah.
We're adding 948 Avon Crest Boulevard.
That's the fence easement.
That's a fence easement, yes.
Would be an outside user sewer user agreement for 1750 Van Antwerp Road.
Has anybody spoken with them about what that means, or do I gotta do that stuff?
I spoke to their engineer today.
I'm sorry, Sam.
1750 Van Antwerp.
So,
Heats. Yeah, Heats. They're not looking to do the work until next year.
Okay,
They just want to get everything in order.
and because we work shorter turnaround the meetings, it probably won't be on for this month, so maybe December.
Okay, yeah, they just wanted to start it, so.
Okay,
I spoke to them recently. I think they're pretty flexible at the time.
okay, if they're flexible, then that's probably December is what we're looking at as
Okay.
far as a resolution.
That works.
All right, Matt, engineering, oh, is that it? Sorry.
Yeah, that's all. Oh, I'm sorry.
You never know.
Matt?
Okay, engineering, just a quick update, the lead service inventory was submitted to Department of Health. But doesn't mean that we want people to stop, handing in their surveys if they haven't completed them yet. I'm collecting all that information and I will be submitting an update, and my plan is just to continue updating the information to the state as we get it and as we discover more information out in the field. We'll just keep updating the list and work towards a complete list. And I think that was the ultimate goal of the Department of Health anyway. It was unrealistic to expect that we'd have 100% list of everything that was in the town without digging up every road. So we have an opening in my office for a senior engineer. There's information on the town's website for the position. It's basically someone with a civil engineering degree and a professional engineer's license, civil service position. Just looking for somebody to work in alongside dealing with our water plant, sewer plant, water distribution, sewer collection, and stormwater management plan within the town. So a lot of different things that we can do. It's like a little sampler place. So, and hopefully we can fill that position because it is a little short staffed in my office without.
Yeah, let's say.
You see what I'm really answering?
No. Yeah, I'm not a civil, I'm a Sparky.
One application I had was someone that was a Walmart reader.
No,
No, but I'm going to try to reach out to some of the local municipalities and. Yeah. I don't do that, but
They're gonna be watching, I'll call you.
It's a great place to work, folks.
so.
Water and sewer maintenance items.
Working for maintenance, we have 3 open positions in the maintenance crew. Collecting applications and interviewing when we get good applicants. If I get any names to forward to the board, we'll move forward with them, but right now I don't have anyone.
So our deadline is gonna
It's quick
be
because-
fast this.
I think it's next week.
Say,
I told Kathy Wednesday afternoon for budget month because we have,
The meeting's the 19th.
Yeah.
So the 13th, yes,
Yes.
1 week from today.
by end of day. please.
Yeah.
That's the deadline for resolutions.
For them to get me the resolution, so I have enough time to draft the resolution. Yes.
and the next one, I have a maintenance worker, a water and sewer maintenance worker who's with us for quite a while. He's approaching his, he's about 2 months from his end of his probation for the current position that he's in.
Okay.
And I just want to start thinking about potentially moving him to water and sewer too. He's already volunteering to be on call, and I'd like to try to keep people, the good people that we have. I don't know if that's something we can do this month or we could wait.
I guess we're gonna have to have a discussion about how it's gonna affect the budget. Can we convene on that just tomorrow? We have a 9:30 with you and Tony and Rich. So can we just call in one?
Let's plan on it, and then if we can get it done, great. How does that
Okay.
sound?
That's the normal succession that we typically do. It would most likely would have waited until January 1st. But because of timing and short staff,
Great.
Just have all that with you tomorrow for our 9:30.
I will.
We'll just try to wrap it all up in one quick meeting.
Okay. The next item is going to be on the special meeting tonight. It's awarding the contract to pave the patch on, Knott Street in front of the co-op, or whatever we had, earlier this year. And then having to go out to bid for that, and the cost would be between $67,000 and $77,000, depending on, whether or not they can do the striping this year or have to do temporary striping and then do the striping in the spring. That's 60, yeah.
The
That-
resolution's meant to go up to be 70, so if it comes in and then.
Yeah.
77.
Yeah, hopefully we can do it all at one shot, but if they have to do temporary markings because of the weather, but they have a deadline, they can't go past, Thanksgiving. So,
Gosh, they have to do that.
Yeah.
That's right.
Do you know when they're gonna start that?
as soon as, within a couple of weeks, as soon as I get the green light, the board votes.
And it's not,
Some of the dates, we can put it out there.
it's not gonna be at night, like.
No, it's gonna be during the day. We'll have to shut the road down, probably partially shut the road down for 3 days. And open it back up again each
Oh, we
day.
talked about that, trying to get people in the co-op.
Yeah, have access to the co-op, but just have that one short section to shut down. That includes removing the temporary patches that were built or installed earlier this year, fixing the traffic signal because of the traffic signal loop that's in the asphalt, and then paving and putting new epoxy coating or epoxy striping and turn signal, so it was a very expensive project. Okay, utility billing. The fall 2024 residential commercial bills are out. They're due by November 11th.
Well,
I'm sorry.
you're not gonna be here Monday, Dan?
I'm sorry?
You're not gonna be here Monday collecting them?
Why?
And then the next two items, have to do with the corporate utility. Second quarter, 2024 corporate utility reconciliation should be ready, for approval. And the third quarter corporate, warrant should be ready for approval. Chris should have that to me on Monday. Kathy and I will do the
Tuesday.
review.
Tuesday.
We're closed Wednesday.
I work for them. Yeah. Yeah. Tuesday. Yeah. Okay, and then, I have one other item to add. 2149 Baker Ave. We had a situation where a homeowner, is not in the house right now. They were, last time they were in the house was in January.
Or is it somebody different? Because I think the other one.
I think this is another one. Yeah. So the had an issue reading the meter, so we were estimating the bill. So the usage for this last bill was based on an estimate from the last 3 years. And we replaced the meter on October 17th. We have a new meter that we can read. It's still vacant, so we're going to do a reading tomorrow. Confirm that there is no usage or low usage, and I'd like to adjust the bill to minimum use for that period because it's been vacant. But I can confirm that it has been vacant by reading the meter.
You know the other one that Kathy brought to me, the woman who had the leak? And we were talking about,
That was, did that go through that was like,
I think we did it, because she said she wanted to come in and talk about, I thought we were talking about a payment plan with her. Is that who it is? So then that one, I feel like, okay, let's talk about that one tomorrow so that I can make sure that whatever we need to do for that is done.
Okay.
I have it on my desk somewhere.
The next one, it's an update on the wastewater treatment plant organic program. This is the last week of our pilot, taking in way, from Giovanni. I finished assembling the data and submitted to DEC for their approval, their review. As of right now, all the parameters that we're testing for are not affected or very insignificantly affected by the addition of the way. So that was the one thing that we were trying to prove to DEC. And I think we're in good shape. I just have to formalize that in a letter and send that to them once we have that last week's worth of data.
And then how long does it take them to do that? You know?
Hopefully, I would like to be optimistic within a month or so. But I believe our original conversation with them that they would let us continue setting the way.
Oh, they will.
If everything looked good initially, before we get any final answer from them. And then just the transfer station landfill, just an update on the annual paper shredding electronic event that we had here. I want to thank everybody who volunteered. We usually have 2 or 3 people, and I think we had 7 volunteers.
I think we have more than that.
Yeah, there's a lot there. It was great.
I think we probably had a dozen.
I was counting, I guess more so on just on the electronic side.
Oh, yeah,
you
then
guys
there were
had-
3 of us over the shredding and the shovel.
That was the entrance.
It was great.
And we had some volunteers too from the ZBA. And I threw a couple people. Great.
We ended up collecting 3/4 of the truck worth of shredding, I believe.
Yep.
And 21 pounds of electronics. So.
Anything good? Interesting. Assholes, come on.
TVs, yeah. Well, handy computers and.
The big flat screens when they came out, the backs of them were so heavy,
Yeah.
but now they're so light.
Like this wide.
Yes, oh my goodness.
The other guy had a TV, I think, 50, you said?
Yeah, really cool.
Get the pickers in there.
So that's all I have as far as items. If there's anything else?
I don't have anything.
I don't think so. I'll probably remember something as soon as I walk out of here. I didn't write anything down, so. I think maybe just that one leak is the only one that I just have to figure out what to do with it. But, did you say we had we had a shift?
This
Yeah,
is Wednesday, but it's really.
Okay, so it's supposed to be December 5th is the next.
Thursday, December 5th at 4:30. So, yeah. And if nobody has anything else, then I'll take a motion. Motion. For a second. All those in favor? Thank you. We are adjourned. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, senior, started.
It's like this, right?
I work.
You're gonna stay.